We are so back. And you want to know what else is back, actually? The age of the artisan. Because, you see, the media landscape, for quite a while now, has been going through quite the cost structure crisis. Whether it's video games, movies, journalism, really anything involving art or creativity, the cost structure crisis is currently coming, and will continue to come for all of them. And maybe you too soon, who knows? Come on. You see, we've been through this before, though, right? Many parallels exist between what's going on today and what's been going on all through human history. Sometimes there is eras where we come together and get big through large institutions. Other eras are for fragmentation. You know, sometimes we're in our Roman Empire era, other times we're in our Dark Ages. But just like the Dark Ages weren't actually all that dark, in fact, oftentimes you'll find that this fragmentation cycle is not just necessary, but very healthy and good, because the alternative is for us to never progress and just stagnate at where we're at now, which, as you can see, this is no place to be staying. It's come to the point where tiny teams of people with no funding or backing are able to constantly slay the Goliaths that are all these big budget studios. Video games, movies, TV, media, journalism, anything. All of this, economy-wide, worldwide, this all traces back to the spawn of our current institution era, post-1945. And if you look at the time, she's getting pretty late. This is a human life cycle in and out at this point, and that is when all of this ossification occurs. So let me tell you today exactly why it's happening, how to capitalize, and why this is, for once, thank Christ, a good thing for society.
Let me take you down.
I personally first realized this was going on in the early 2010s. Journos back in the day would be ripping on YouTube and YouTubers. It was embarrassing to be a YouTuber. But really, if you recall all those articles shitting on YouTubers, it was really coming from a place of them resenting YouTubers, because all these journos, right? Every day, they have these giant teams of editors and people telling them exactly what they can and cannot say, and yet day to day, when they look at these YouTubers, they're living their life, their dream job. They have no boss, they can do what they want, say what they want, whatever they feel like making is what gets published. But these journos, they didn't have that option. But they were taking the safe route, right? And again, early 2010s, YouTuber was not a serious thing to be. And all these journos, as far as they could see, they were a bunch of idiots, all these YouTubers. They had no credentials, no team, no legitimacy, and they weren't wrong. Before the digital media kind of revolution came, you were really screwed if you had no giant team behind you. And this is what I'm talking about with the cost structure. In the past, you needed a massive organization with a bunch of funding to get anything done. But these days, that holds you back. All of these costs, whether it's rent or equipment or all of your contracts, your office cleaning, your secretary, your HR, all of this shit is just money in the hole. It just doesn't matter, okay? At the end of the day, if my costs are basically zero, you're gonna lose, okay? It doesn't matter how much better your video is or whatever the fuck you're making in this world. If my costs are zero, I'm just going to win because my cost structure is going to beat you. That is the crisis facing every company and organization these days, but especially media. All of these companies are screwing themselves. They're pissing blood. And the reason why is because they have these giant cost structures that are built up over years. And also these days, no one actually has to go through the mainstream media to become a journo. And in fact, if you're worth your salt, you're actually harming yourself, because if you're one of the best journalists out there, right? You, by definition, will be getting underpaid relative to what your value is. Because if you're in a mainstream media organization, by definition, your awesomeness, the extra value, the surplus value you bring in is being distributed amongst all of the other workers there. That's part of the issue with job security. You're trading your true peak performance and potential in exchange for de-risking it. But because of the state of things these days, if you are worth your salt, you're gonna fuck off and start a Substack, because that's just the way to go. Why on earth would you be staying at CNN or whatever the fuck, earning pennies on the dollar of what you're worth, and you'd have a direct relationship with your audience too? Like, it makes no sense. But when you have all of the best and brightest cream of the crop of every single mainstream media organization fucking off to Substack, you're really just left with the dregs of society running all these media companies. Like, I see people mixing up 2 and 2 for fuck's sakes. You can't be doing that if your job is the written word. Overall, like, you see the quality drop. Their best and brightest, who are making the best articles, the the ones you'd actually go to these websites for or go to these news media organizations for, they're gone. So now what's left is just slop. It's all slop, low quality slop, shit that even a fucking high schooler could probably do better on, in my mind. Like, it's actually bad. But you see, this is the hollowing out of the mainstream media. I mean, on one hand, yes, tragic, but do you really expect any of those news media companies to be able to handle something better than someone whose dedicated occupation or interest in life is whatever they're doing? Like, if there's some news on train derailments or shit, you think I'm going to CNN? Fuck no, I'm going to some autist, okay? They're gonna make me way more informed, they're gonna have way better content, just because they care, and that's like their one thing. But yes, with all this shit in mind, Substack has annihilated all of these companies, because when it's just some dude writing, you can write from anywhere, okay? First off, like I said, fuck off and price out the locals, go to some cheap country. You can be scraping by on a tiny following and still be turning a profit every year. And so when you're competing with these one-man shows everywhere who are probably more passionate, probably doing it better than you could do it, and all this other shit, like, it's just, you can't compete. There is a place for the New York Times of the world. They will still continue to exist and subsist, but for the vast majority of them, it's over, okay? And over with it is 99% of those traditional, dependable, de-risked journo careers. And it's all because of their cost structure. You cannot afford to be paying for editors, accountants, all that shit. None of that is necessary anymore, because the people who are doing it as a one-man show don't need it, and that's the new floor. In the same way that the news segment got cannibalized by all these Substack writers' cost structure that they bring to the table, look at video, right? BuzzFeed News used to be great. BuzzFeed Video was iconic. It was one of their big things. In fact, when Facebook did that whole pivot to video thing that they dumped on all of these different media companies, they all leapt at it. I mean, you can see how that played out today, but the reason why it all fell apart is because, one, if you're making shit for BuzzFeed as a video person, notice how none of them are actually there anymore. Do you remember back in the day when there was like a billion different people you've never heard of all saying why I left BuzzFeed and starting a YouTube channel? The reason why is because they used to make videos for BuzzFeed, but BuzzFeed doesn't own shit. People are going there, not for BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed was what got them in the door, but what they're staying and coming and returning for are the people in the BuzzFeed videos. And so when they realize this, just like the Substack writers, they're like, what am I doing this for BuzzFeed for? I'm getting pennies on the dollar. So they go, take all of their audience and content with them. But even then, BuzzFeed still could have like a rotating cast that they could cycle through, right? No, they can't. Because even in spite of all that, think of what goes into a BuzzFeed video production. You got lighting, cameras, equipment, all that shit, all of the different staff around these studio sets they make up, on top of the talents, business services, and infrastructure behind the cameras and scenes, so to speak. All of that shit makes every single video, through the fixed costs alone, if you want to frame it that way, literally like $5,000 per video is their cost basis. Meanwhile, look at me. How much money do you think I spent today? Shit all, okay? I spent I probably spent $50 today. But that being said, that was a big day for me, okay? All of this shit, the camera, this fuck-ass mic setup, the lighting, all of this shit was paid for a year ago. And in total, it cost less than $1,000. And this is a fancy setup, not exactly the run-of-the-mill type shit, right? You could skate by for way less. I mean, look at half the people out here, right? But the point being, when BuzzFeed makes a $50,000 video implicitly and posts it, and then I make a video, crack pipe in a warehouse at 3 a.m., we get put next to each other. There's no sort of status or benefit they get from dumping all that money into it or having all of the infrastructure behind the scenes to sustain and fund this operation. None of that shit matters. There is no benefit or value they get out of that. If you want to actually look at it the way it is, it's an albatross across their neck. It's just hanging there. It's weighing them down. And so no matter what, even if BuzzFeed had no other issues, the fact remains that BuzzFeed, Vox, all these other fuckers, they cannot afford to sustainably do video content. Because when you have a bunch of people like me, sure, maybe some of us are doing better than others, a lot of us will never make it, but overall, when you got 1 million people taking shots, some of them are gonna hit, and you're just one of many as BuzzFeed or Vox. You're sat there right next to me in my fuck-ass thumbnails, right? There's no benefit they get out of all the money they dump into it. Once again, the cost structure is killing them. The amount of revenue I'm willing to take has dropped the floor out from under them. But again, all of this I know I've harped a lot on why all these big institutions are failing, right? It's because there's guys like me out here willing to undercut them essentially, and they can't beat me on a cost basis. It's just they're no longer sustainable as a business model. That day is long gone. But that being said, though, I really want to focus on the positive of all this. I know it's been negative so far, but there is a lot of good here. And if anything, it's never been a better time to be an independent creator than this very moment you're watching this video. And every day, it just gets better. Now, forget about all that doom and gloom. I want you to think back to the idea of the starving artist, okay? You see, that was always in the cultural zeitgeist because it was true. For most of history, artists don't produce anything of value when you're actually starving to death, right? I mean, like, good for art. We all need art, okay? You always need something to lighten the mood or take your mind off things, sure. But when push comes to shove, I need food first. That's what comes first. But that being said, though, you see, the starving artist, it's more of, well, it's not quite a choice, but it's as close to a choice as it's ever been for artists. Because you see, these days, no matter what sort of field or niche you occupy, I guarantee there is people paying money for that right now. It's definitely a choice, or as close to as it has ever been, because for the first time ever, you don't need some mini Medici kind of setup to actually get paid. You don't need some benefactor. You don't need government funding. No, for the first time, you of your own volition can go out there and actually earn money for your art. Every single facet of modern life, no matter what you're doing, you can monetize that shit. And it is tragic because there is a loss here, okay? The jobs that were de-risked, the chill jobs, the jobs you didn't have to worry about if you're going to eat tomorrow type jobs, okay? Those ones are kind of dying off for all of these creative endeavors. But that being said, though, for the first time ever, if you truly want to create of your own volition, your specific vision, you can do that much easier, much better, and get paid for it easier and more than ever before. Genuinely, never before in history has it ever been this easy to earn money off of your own creations. No matter what you're in, whether it's business, whether it's some creative endeavor, all of this shit is never been more set up and streamlined for you to earn money today. Think of all these different services that have popped up over the years to facilitate this. If you're writing, you got like Substack or Medium, I guess, but really Substack, audio-visual type shit. Okay, YouTube's right there for you. You know, if you're making explicit content, you got stuff like, regardless, whatever the hell you're trying to do, whatever broad category or bucket that fits into, there is a platform to help you get paid. You have all these different payment processors like Stripe setting up, you have email, you have all of these different infrastructures that have come together and made this perfect storm of profit off of your own creations. And so, you know, again, I don't want to say that it's your fault if you're not earning money off of your works today, but like, it's as much of a choice as it's ever been, put it that way, okay? And so if you believe in yourself, you should believe in your ability to put food on the table provided by your work and your work alone. But just to close it off today, I want you to think back to how it was in the Middle Ages, right? For a while, there was collapse with the Dark Ages, but then we started reforming with medieval Europe. And with that came new institutions, things like your guilds, right? And it got hyper niche, okay? You think there's niches today. There was niches back then too. Like each step of some sort of manufacturing or creative process or any sort of artisan good out there, it had its own sort of craft guild. It was essentially a proto-union in a way, right? And so how this would work is all of the different people within this profession, you see, they would be the masters. And when you're starting off, now you're like a novice or whatever the hell the term is, you're apprentice. And then as you get better, now you're a journeyman, you can work on your own, but you're not a master, you can't get anyone else in. And at first, this was great. This is how you passed down knowledge, this is how you systematized it, and this is how you made it so that it could be relied upon when people were going for some sort of craft, like, oh, the glass blower ware, whatever the hell, craft guild. You know that when they're behind that work will be made well. But then over time, you see these institutions, they started to ossify, they calcified. All of these different professions basically became nepotism rackets because no longer did it matter just how good your craft was, or that you had a desire to learn the craft. You see, now you had to have an uncle or some shit that was a master to take you under his wing. And it wasn't just that. Like, even if you were family and you got in, it was still awful, okay? A decade plus of earning dick all, not being able to do any shit on your own, being someone's bitch boy, essentially, all because of this system that they set up. It's like a multi-level marketing scheme in a weird way, just the way that it's like a pyramid where all the masters on top sit there. And the only reason you're doing it is because, oh, one day you will be able to earn all of this money off of all your slaves that you essentially have. Don't worry, that day will come. Now shut up and do work. That's essentially the system it was. But with the dawn of the printing press and other things like that, suddenly all of the knowledge on how to do all of these specific different crafts and processes, it was democratized. Now there's books on it. Now you can learn it of your own volition. And next thing you know, there was no monopoly anymore by all these craft guilds. And so, combine that with a few other innovations like companies, for example, those started to pop up. Now you have a bunch of people saying, fuck this, I'm gonna start my own company. We're gonna do this. And sure, there's no ancient craft guild or merchant guild to back it up with hundreds of years of quality work, sure. But your work speaks for itself. Just like YouTubers in the early 2010s were quite maligned and looked down upon by journos, so too were companies of people embarking on their own endeavors, getting into their own crafts outside of these institutions, so too were they mocked as well. And people were raising eyebrows at first, like, oh, you can't seriously expect to get some good glassware off of these companies, right? But over time, the work speaks for itself, and now everyone's like, why am I paying all this money for all of these guys who aren't actually even doing better, or fuck it, like, just none of this makes sense, right? And so more and more people started to break off and take their services to these new companies instead of these traditional craft guilds. And so slowly the relevance faded. And then on top of that, consider as well the fact that if you're worth your salt, you're gonna go fuck off and make your own goddamn company now, because why am I working under this dude, okay? I am good, I got skill, I'm an up-and-coming talent. So again, just like Substack's peeling off all of the best writers from all these mainstream media orgs, so too were all of the best craftsmen brought off into all these companies. And then to top it all off, you had all of these fucking people start to realize, wait, I actually do want individuals, not some amorphous blob of an org, to be making my shit, right? Like, when people started to commission artists, you can see this actually in history. If you look back far enough, you stop getting names. There's no individuals anymore for a lot of things. It's like, oh, well, I hired this guild or whatever organization, this studio, to go and make some art. But then go look at the dawn of the Renaissance, right? Now you have individuals like, oh, I'm hiring Michelangelo. I'm hiring, what was his name? The fucking funny name dude. I stayed in his house. What was his name? Fuck! I cannot remember this dude's name, but I stayed in his house. Anyway, the point is, you start having named individuals who are specifically hired by these people to make shit. It's no longer this guild making my shit, it's this guy making my shit, because this guy is who I care about. I don't care about some org. Your name brand doesn't mean shit. I want the best. I want the guy who's making shit. And that is the current age we're going through right now. We have been through this before. We'll be through it many times again. There are reasons that these craft guilds, so to speak, have popped up over the years, and it made sense at the time, but that time no longer exists. We are past it. And currently we're in a transition period in many things in life. One of them is economic. One of them is this exact scenario. We're going through a neo-age of the artisan, the specific artisan, not just some org, but the actual individual. And it's scary, okay? You have to actually be good on your own. You cannot rely on some institution to kind of just like phone it in on anymore, which is tough. I do lament the easy days that were gone before I was able to enjoy them, okay? But fuck it, this is the world we live in. It's a brave new world. And if you actually give a shit, if you love what you do, if you're competent, if you want to do well at what you do, it's never been a better time to be alive, no matter what you're in. I swear to God. As an individual, if you are better than the rest, this is the time to be, okay? And you gotta believe that too, especially if you're making shit. You must believe that there is a reason for you to be making shit. You're not just doing it because you exist. It must be because you actually are making something of value. That's what matters. Bramante, something like, who the fuck's texting me at this hour? Withdrawal $142, what the fuck? Uh-oh. It's almost 4. The sun's gonna be coming up soon. I'm calling her now. Okay, let's finish this. Alright, long meandering video, but just in conclusion, the point is that it's a brave new world. It's scary out there. We are going through a transition period. We're seeing all of these institutions we've had throughout our lives and were big and prominent before we were born collapse. And the reason why is because they're just not viable anymore. And this happens all throughout history. You go through these cycles. It's like a heartbeat. You go through consolidation, fragmentation. We're going through fragmentation right now on every single level: society, economy, world, everything. All right? And the best way to handle this is to accept it as such and figure out how you're going to survive. And the blueprint is there. Don't ever forget that. The blueprint is there. People have been through this shit before. And if anything, this is a time of opportunity, okay? More so than any other points in recent memory, we are finally able to break the shackles of all of these large tastemaker institutions that are gatekeepers and control what you can and cannot do. Like this, none of this shit is possible in the world before mid-2010s. None of this shit, both on a tech level, yes, but also just the way institutions are set up. This shit would never be anywhere else, right? This is uniquely possible in our fragmented era, okay? Don't ever forget that. I just hope you take away from this a message of hope. Don't think, oh my God, all of the safe, de-risked jobs are gone. I mean, they are. But think of it more so as a time where new things are being created, where we're not stagnating. This is what needs to happen to avoid stagnation. And no matter what, you're gonna be okay. Everyone has throughout, well, not everyone. You're gonna be okay. Okay? All of your ancestors up to this point have figured it out. They've been fine. And chances are you will too. Look at this for the opportunity it is rather than despair for what is lost, okay? I feel like I should have a call to action. Add me on Skype. I'm out.